If you feel yourself getting a little bit weaker, a little bit slower with every passing year, and you're putting the work in at the gym but just not getting the results that you'd hope for, there is one supplement that is scientifically proven to help you take your health and fitness to the next level. Now, you've probably heard of creatine before, you may have even used it back in your high school days, but recently there's been some groundbreaking research published on this popular supplement that'll convince all you men and women over 40 that creatine is probably the most powerful supplement to have in your longevity toolkit. Since the early 90s, creatine has been the secret weapon used by elite athletes to enhance their performance on the field and boost their gains in the gym. Research published in just the last few years suggests that this popular supplement may also help us mere mortals not only build stronger muscles, but also improve the health and performance of our brains. Prepare to dive deep as we'll uncover everything you need to know about creatine, from all its potential benefits to its safety profile, the optimum method of consumption, and the realistic outcomes you can expect once you start taking this powerful supplement. But first, what exactly is creatine? Creatine is a peptide made up of 3 amino acids: arginine, glycine, and methionine. Creatine is found naturally in all animals and is absorbed by our bodies from the meat and seafood that we consume. On top of the creatine that we get from our food, our bodies manufacture around 1 gram of creatine every day. If our bodies make it, it must be pretty useful, right? So what exactly does creatine do? Our bodies make energy in the form of ATP, mostly from fats and carbohydrates, but our bodies can also make energy from creatine phosphate, which is the preferred fuel source for several parts of our brains and for our muscles during high-intensity exercise. Creatine phosphate is converted into ATP faster than fats or carbs and is the fuel source we rely upon for speed and power. Unfortunately, creatine phosphate is depleted very rapidly, and that is why you cannot maintain your top speed for more than 5 or 10 seconds, as at that point you've burned through all the creatine phosphate that's readily available in your muscles. Once you've burned through all that creatine phosphate, your body then has to start creating energy out of fats and carbs, and that takes time. Taking supplemental creatine will allow us to maintain our max effort for a little bit longer, and it also helps to replenish creatine phosphate once we've burned through the 5 to 10 seconds worth of that rocket fuel that we store in our muscles. This allows us to train harder and faster for longer, and the harder and longer that we train, the better results we achieve. Alright, with me so far? Now let's look into the results that we can expect from boosting the levels of creatine we have in our bodies. First, let's take a look at the effects on muscle and strength. We have 2 different meta-analyses, both showing that creatine supplementation, when combined with resistance exercise, significantly increases both upper and lower body strength. Moreover, these meta-analyses showed an average increase of a little over 3 pounds of muscle mass in the studies ranging between 7 and 52 weeks. Now, 3 pounds of muscle might not seem like all that much, but if you're watching this channel, you know that we're interested in playing the long game. And if you gain 3 pounds of extra muscle every year for 10 years, you'll have 30 extra pounds of muscle. That is an absolute game changer that can dramatically improve the quality of your life. That extra muscle mass can be the difference between maintaining your ability to do all the activities you enjoy, from golf to tennis to basketball, well into your 80s, 90s, and beyond, to struggling just to go up and down stairs. So how exactly does creatine help us get stronger? Well, we've already gone over how creatine helps give us more energy to exercise harder for longer, but there's more to the story. In addition to improving ATP production, which provides more energy for our muscle cells to work, creatine also has powerful anabolic properties, meaning that it helps several of the processes our bodies use to build and repair muscle tissue. And creatine has also been shown to counteract muscle catabolism, which is the breakdown of our muscle tissue. So creatine gives us more energy, helps build muscle, and helps prevent muscle loss. Not bad. But wait, there's more. Creatine has also been shown to have several positive effects on the health and performance of our brains. While 95% of all the creatine in our bodies is stored in our muscles, around 5% is stored in the brain. To illustrate how important creatine is for brain health, we can look at people that have genetic disorders that cause creatine deficiency in the brain. These disorders are known as cerebral creatine deficiency syndromes, and they lead to significant cognitive impairment. Supplemental creatine has been shown to reverse the symptoms in these individuals. But what effects does creatine supplementation have on healthy people that do not suffer from these rare genetic disorders? Several studies have shown significant improvements in memory in healthy individuals supplementing with creatine. And there are several other promising studies showing that supplemental creatine significantly boosts mental performance in people that are sleep deprived. And sadly, in our modern society, that's most of us. Additionally, creatine supplementation has demonstrated positive effects in people suffering from depression, PTSD, and anxiety disorders. Now, how does this work? According to these studies, supplemental creatine boosts the levels of creatine in the brain between 3 and 10%. Recall from earlier that creatine helps improve ATP production, which is the primary source of energy for every cell in our bodies, and our brain is our most energy-demanding organ, consuming 20% of our energy despite being only 2% of our body weight. Increasing creatine content in the brain by taking supplemental creatine can help provide our brains with more energy that'll improve our health and mental performance. Additionally, creatine has shown both anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects, which may help counteract the negative effects of inflammation in the brain and the damage caused by oxygen-free radicals that have been shown to impair cognitive function. Now, I'm sure all of this sounds great, but how safe is creatine? Are there any side effects that we should be concerned with? In over 1,000 published studies on creatine supplementation, the vast majority of these studies report exactly 0 adverse events. There are a few studies that report some rare side effects of taking creatine in some individuals, and these generally range from GI discomfort to muscle cramps, but the majority of the studies report 0 negative effects. You may have heard some rumors that creatine can negatively affect your liver or your kidneys. I found 5 studies that examined this issue closely, and not one of them found any significant negative effects. While everything that I just told you is all supported by peer-reviewed, published scientific research, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on the internet, so before you put any pill or powder into your body, it's probably wise for you to consult with your physician. Now, answers to some of the most common questions when it comes to creatine use. First up, does it matter which form of creatine that you use? Most of the creatine supplements you'll find on the market are in the form of creatine monohydrate, but there are some slick supplement companies that claim that their form of creatine is somehow superior. Short answer on this, nearly all published studies use creatine monohydrate, and there are 0 studies that suggest that any other form of creatine is superior in any way. So stick with creatine monohydrate. Now, I don't have an affiliation with any supplement company, but you can find links to the brands that I personally use in the description of this video. The next common question is, how much should we take? The majority of studies on long-term creatine use suggest that 5 grams per day is the effective dose for adults. There are several studies that use much higher doses than this, up to 20 grams or more per day, and none of those studies reported any significant negative outcomes. To quickly fill your muscles with the maximum amount of creatine that they can store, it is often recommended to take 20 grams per day for the first week in what is called a loading phase. A loading phase is not necessary, however, as if you just take the standard 5 grams per day, your muscles will become fully saturated with creatine in about a month. So especially if you have a sensitive stomach, starting with 5 grams per day right from the start is probably your best option. Next common question is, will creatine cause weight gain? Yes, it will, but this is not cause for alarm. Creatine helps draw water into your muscle cells, and this extra water in your muscles can lead to an increase of a couple of pounds on the scale. Now, if you are trying to lose weight, I strongly recommend that you reframe that goal and instead focus on losing fat, not regaining it, while maintaining or building your muscle mass. Now, you can temporarily lose a few pounds if you don't drink any water for a day or 2, but that loss in weight will not be healthy. Similarly, the water weight that you gain from taking creatine is not unhealthy. As we previously mentioned, one of the main reasons to take creatine is that it's been shown to increase muscle mass. So over time, in addition to those couple of pounds of water weight that you gain, you should gain some extra pounds of muscle, and more muscle is a good thing. Muscle mass and strength are 2 of the strongest predictors of your lifespan and your health span. If you follow my suggestion and focus on losing fat and gaining muscle, you probably want to know, how does creatine affect body fat? Well, the few studies that have looked at this show either no change in body fat or a decrease in body fat after creatine supplementation. Now, what are the realistic results that you could expect once you start taking creatine? Placebo-controlled studies suggest that creatine supplementation leads to a 10% greater increase in strength over time as compared to the placebo. Now, this might not seem like all that much to you, but keep in mind that if you got a 10% raise in your salary every year, your salary would double in 7 years. That's not too shabby, right? Now, keep in mind that results vary from individual to individual, and some people will experience a greater response to creatine supplementation than others. Especially if your diet is currently low in creatine, a vegan diet for example, you'll probably realize a greater response from taking supplemental creatine when compared to people that consume animal products. Finally, while some studies demonstrate benefits of taking creatine in non-exercising individuals, the vast majority of the studies that show clear benefits of supplemental creatine examine the results of taking creatine in conjunction with resistance training. So if you take creatine and then sit on your ass, you're probably not going to realize any benefits. Creatine is not an anabolic steroid or a magic pill. Instead, it is simply a powerful tool to enhance the benefits of exercise. If you're going to invest time and energy into exercise, you want to do everything in your power to maximize the benefit of that investment, and creatine can definitely help you achieve that goal. If you're just starting out on your fitness journey, I have a free mobility program that is specifically designed to prepare your body to begin strength training. You can find that by clicking the link in the pinned comment below. Now, what has been your experience taking creatine? What other questions do you have about creatine or any other supplements? I'd love to hear from you, so go ahead and drop a comment down below. I promise I'll reply as quickly as possible. Now, if you've made it this far, you might as well go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more content that'll help you live longer and live stronger. And I'll see you in the next video.